outside.
You're not the police, but you're too.
One of the things that has always made Lioness different from other military dramas is that the biggest secrets rarely come from the enemy. More often than not, they come from inside the intelligence community itself. Information is shared on a need-to-know basis, and even trusted operatives don't always get the full picture. That's why, after watching Season 3 premiere, I keep coming back to one character, Kaitlyn. She's one of the smartest people in the room. She's experienced, measured, and almost always several steps ahead. But what if that calm confidence isn't just a result of experience? What if she already knows something that Joe doesn't? I'm not saying Kaitlyn is working against Joe. Far from it. I think she's doing what she's always done, protecting the mission. The problem is that protecting the mission doesn't always mean protecting the people carrying it out. Let's break it down. From the moment we met Kaitlyn, one thing became obvious. She doesn't make emotional decisions. She listens more than she speaks. She studies every situation before responding. And when she finally gives an order, it usually comes after she's already considered several possible outcomes. That's what makes her such an effective CIA officer. She isn't reacting to events. She's anticipating them. That also means there are moments when she knows more than the people around her. Not because she's dishonest, because that's how intelligence work functions. Joe approaches every assignment from the field. She sees the people, the danger, the human cost. Kaitlyn sees the operation as a whole. She has to think about politics, international consequences, intelligence sources, and objectives that extend far beyond one mission. Neither perspective is wrong. They're simply different. But that difference creates tension, because Joe expects honesty from people she trusts. Kaitlyn often believes some information is safer if it stays compartmentalized. One of the biggest themes in Lioness has always been compartmentalization. Every department knows part of the story. Very few people know all of it. That's realistic. Intelligence agencies operate that way to protect sources and prevent sensitive information from spreading unnecessarily. If Kaitlyn has access to intelligence Joe doesn't, it doesn't automatically mean she's hiding something out of malice. It may simply be protocol. Still, protocol doesn't make those secrets any easier to accept. The Season 3 premiere increases the pressure surrounding Joe more than ever. The mission itself is already dangerous. But events outside the mission suggest the threat isn't limited to one operation. That immediately raises questions. How much did headquarters know? Did anyone anticipate that danger would escalate this quickly? If they did, who had access to that information? Kaitlyn is one of the few people who realistically could have. One reason I don't believe Kaitlyn is secretly betraying Joe is because we've seen genuine concern from her in previous seasons. She understands how much Joe sacrifices. She knows the pressure Joe lives under. She also recognizes Joe's value to the Lioness program. But caring about someone doesn't eliminate difficult decisions. Sometimes leadership requires withholding information to prevent panic or preserve operational security. That doesn't make those choices painless. Joe succeeds because she trusts her team. She trusts intelligence. She trusts the people making strategic decisions. Without that trust, the entire operation begins to break down. That's why any missing information becomes so significant. If Joe ever discovers there were important details she wasn't given, it won't simply affect one mission. It could change the way she views everyone above her. Joe carries physical danger. Kaitlyn carries strategic responsibility. Every recommendation she makes could affect international relationships. Every decision could cost lives. That's an enormous burden. Because of that, Kaitlyn sometimes has to think beyond individual relationships. She can't simply ask what helps Joe today. She has to ask what protects the mission tomorrow. Those priorities don't always align. Here's where my theory becomes really interesting. What if the people targeting the Lioness program understand its structure better than Joe realizes? If hostile groups have learned how leadership operates, they know information is compartmentalized. They know field officers won't always have the complete picture. That creates opportunities. Opportunities that become much more dangerous if leadership already suspects something, but can't fully explain it without compromising other operations. Kaitlyn could be trapped in exactly that situation. One mistake viewers sometimes make is assuming silence automatically in intelligence work. Silence often protects sources, protects investigations, protects future operations. Kaitlyn understands that. Joe understands it too. The difference is that understanding something professionally doesn't always make it easier emotionally, especially when your own life is on the line. Another possibility is that Kaitlyn isn't only protecting classified information. She could also be protecting another operative, another source, another ongoing investigation. If revealing certain intelligence put someone else at risk, she'd have to make an impossible decision. Tell Joe everything, or protect another asset. Neither option is ideal. If the pressure continues increasing, I think Joe will eventually reach a point where she wants complete transparency. She'll want answers, not because she doubts the mission, because she needs to understand what she's walking into. That's where I think Season 3 could deliver some of its strongest drama, not through action alone, but through conversations between two people who respect each other while seeing the world very differently. I want to make one thing clear. This theory isn't suggesting Kaitlyn is secretly working against Joe. I don't believe that. In fact, I think she genuinely wants Joe to succeed. The problem is that success inside the CIA often requires decisions that appear cold from the outside. Leadership sometimes means accepting outcomes that no one else wants to face. Kaitlyn has lived with those responsibilities for years. Joe is beginning to experience them from a different perspective. So here's my prediction. I don't think Kaitlyn's biggest secret will be something shocking, like a hidden betrayal. I think it'll be something much more believable. She already understands how dangerous the situation has become. She already knows the risks surrounding the mission, and she's chosen not to tell Joe everything. Not because she doubts her, but because she believes withholding certain information gives the operation the best chance of succeeding. Whether that decision proves right or wrong remains to be seen. But if Joe eventually discovers there were critical details kept from her, it could permanently change their relationship, not because trust disappears overnight, but because even the strongest partnerships struggle when one person realizes they've been making life or death decisions without the complete picture. That's what makes Kaitlyn such a fascinating character. She isn't driven by emotion. She's driven by responsibility. Sometimes those responsibilities require silence. Sometimes they require impossible choices. And sometimes they require protecting the mission at the expense of complete honesty. If Season 3 continues exploring that tension, then the biggest conflict may not be between the CIA and its enemies. It may be between two women who both believe they're doing the right thing, but have very different ideas about what the truth should cost.